Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be doing an end of the school year wrap up and kind of just share some of my final thoughts on the curriculum that we used this year, some things that we liked about it, maybe some things that we tweaked. And then here in about a month or so, I will be sharing the curriculum that we're going to be using for this coming school year. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first area that I'm going to talk about is handwriting. So I have two of my kids' handwriting books right here. And this is my daughter who is in 4th grade, and then my son who's in 2nd grade. And actually we usually end up doing 2 of the Handwriting Without Tears handwriting books in about a complete year. So both of my kids, this is their 2nd handwriting book for this academic school year, and we'll just continue to do it until it's finished. And so we've really enjoyed Handwriting Without Tears, and I plan to continue using it. My son has done all of the print books for like those early kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade years, and now he's starting to do cursive. So he's really excited about that. And then my older daughter, who's in the 4th grade, she is on the final cursive book this year, and then there's only one more book left in the whole series that she'll be doing this coming year. So we really have enjoyed it, and I didn't change anything or do anything different. All right, the next area that I'm going to talk about is math. And for math, we have been using Math-U-See. This year we have been doing level beta and level gamma with my kids, and we have enjoyed both of them. I really like Math-U-See and how, you know, there's manipulatives that you can use, the math blocks. I like the DVD component that you can watch each lesson being instructed by Mr. Demi, and that way you understand how he's teaching it and you can kind of mirror that as you're teaching it to your child. So I really like that aspect of Math-U-See. It seems to be working well for both of my kids. Now I am going to show you a couple different manipulatives and kind of tools that I use this year to kind of add to our math curriculum, so let me grab those. All right, the first thing I wanted to share is these are from Lakeshore. And I actually saw another mom on Instagram share that she had these for her kids. I'm like, oh, those are super fun. This one is their addition board, and basically what it has different math facts on it. So I will go a bit closer so you can see. So then you would say 8 plus 3 is 11, and then over here it has the answer. And then for my daughter who's doing multiplication this year, I bought the multiplication version of this board as well. And so same concept, same idea, just another way to practice multiplication in a way that's a little bit more fun than maybe a flashcard. All right, another thing I bought for my daughter this year who's doing multiplication is these wrap-ups. My friend Julie from Mama to 5, she uses these with her kids, and I thought, oh wow, those look super fun. And this has really come in handy for my daughter this year. You can just flip through the different keys. They have the facts 1 through 10, but essentially you start over on this side and do 7 times 10, and then you over here you find 70 and you wrap it, and then you do 4 times 10, find 40, and you do it all the way until the whole thing is wrapped with the right answer. And then what you do is you turn it around to the back, and if your string lines match up with the plastic imprints that they have here, then you know that you got your answers right. So again, it's just another fun way to review your multiplication facts in a way that's more hands-on. And so that has been a really fun resource, and one that I know I will use for the younger kids as well. And the last thing that I bought for my daughter doing multiplication this year was this musical multiplication music. This comes with these 4 little booklets. I downloaded the music and put it on a CD that we have in our car, and we can also listen to it on our little iPod that we have in our kitchen. Inside these little booklets are these different math facts, and then there's a picture that kind of cues your brain to the song that it goes with. So like for instance, this one is 6 times 6 is 36. So the song goes 6 times 6 is 36. Dad has 36 clocks to fix. And so in the picture, it shows the dad fixing a clock. And then here's a couple other ones. This one is cute. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 stickers on my door. So each song is very catchy, and my daughter will say, Mom, I can't remember what, you know, what this times this is, and I will sing the song for her, but I will leave out the answer, and then it just pops right back in her mind and she's like, oh, it's this. I'm like, yes, it is. So this has been a really fun way for us to memorize the multiplication facts together. And I think that I think that the younger kids will also enjoy this. In fact, my 2-year-old will probably know his multiplication facts by the time he's 5. So this has been a really great tool, and I will link this resource below if you want to check it out. Okay, next I'm going to move on to language arts. So this year we have been using Master Book's Language Lessons for a Living Education. And this is my son's book that he's been doing this year, and we have really enjoyed it. I like the kind of Charlotte Mason approach to teaching language arts. It's very comprehensive. There's all different kinds of things covered. Here on the back of the book it says it incorporates picture study, memorization, grammar, punctuation, spelling, vocabulary, observation, poems, psalms, letters, and application through creating their own stories from pictures and sentences. So I have liked how comprehensive it is without being too heavy and time intensive. I feel like it's a good mix there between teaching a lot of great things while also not being too long and tedious. So I have really enjoyed this book a lot. Now, some things that we have added or tweaked with this curriculum is I noticed in the beginning that they would present some spelling words at the end of the week, and you would quiz your kids on if they knew how to spell these words. And I thought, I don't know why they don't introduce the spelling words at the beginning of the week. In the back of the book, they do give you some ideas for ways to practice your spelling words. You can create, certain flashcards or make up different games and things like that. For my kids, I decided to make this little sheet. I found this idea on Pinterest and kind of made it my own and made my own version. So essentially it's just called word mapping. You've got these different squares, and so each letter sound that you hear, you write in the square, and then at the end you write the full word. For example, if the word was chop, you would write ch in the one box, ah, and then p, and then at the end you'd write chop. So I just started having the kids practice their spelling words for the week every day. When they're done with their worksheet, they would copy their spelling words. So that is one thing that we added to the curriculum. Another great way to practice your spelling with a fun game is this game called Quiddler Junior. I played this recently with my daughter and she had a really great time. Essentially, you're trying to make words out of different letter cards. And so this is really fun to play with kids maybe who are like 3rd or 4th graders and up. If you play with a younger child, you're just going to have to help them a lot more creating the words. But this is a really fun spelling game. Definitely one that I would recommend if you're looking for a fun way to practice spelling. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention for language arts was these little, they're called Roll a Story dice cubes. And essentially what they are these little dice that have pictures on them, and you can roll them on your table, and whatever is on top, you can mix them around and create some kind of a story. So sometimes for language arts, when they would give a writing prompt, it wouldn't really be something that would excite my son or pique his interest very much. And so for us, using the Roll a Story dice occasionally was really helpful for him to make him more excited and more willing to do the activity. So those are some things that we used with our language arts this year. Okay, next I'm going to talk about our reading curriculum. So this year my son finished All About Reading Level 2, and now he is about halfway done with All About Reading Level 3. We started this a little bit later in the fall, and so I expect that we still have a few more months left in Level 3. Again, the beauty of homeschool is you don't have to be performing at a certain pace. You can really cater to your child's speed of how fast to progress in the curriculum, and so for us this has been just perfect. We just love All About Reading. This year has been no exception, and something that I have really enjoyed is that All About Reading created colorized versions of their curriculum. So as I flip through here, you can see the different colored pictures and worksheets and activity sheets. And in my opinion, I really think adding color to the curriculum has made it even more fun and engaging. Before it used to be just in black and white. Now for us, I did not purchase like the new colorized teacher's manuals or the new colorized chapter books and things like that. I'm just kind of reusing what we already have. But each year I do buy brand new activity books because these are consumable. So this was new this year for my son, and we really like the color versions a lot. So this has been a wonderful curriculum. We still love it. His reading has come really far this year, and it's getting to the point where he is becoming more confident in reading independently, which is really exciting to see. So I definitely am really happy with All About Reading. All right, my daughter this year was not using a specific reading curriculum because she already completed all 4 levels of All About Reading. So this year we decided just to go through some different chapter books together a little bit at a time. We would look at the book and see, okay, how long are these chapters? You know, what's a reasonable amount for you to read every day? You know, some books it was 1 chapter a day, some books it was 2 chapters a day. I'm just really pleased with the amount of books that she was able to read and listen to this year. She really loves reading, which is so encouraging. I don't have to remind her to read. And sometimes she'll just surprise me and sit down and read a book in like a day or 2 days. And so I'm just trying to fuel her love for reading, making sure to offer her a good variety of different kinds of books and really let her have a say in what she's reading. For us this year, that approach worked really well for her. All right, the next subject I'm going to talk about is science. So this year for science, we did Apologias, Flying Creatures of the Fifth Day. And so far, this has been my absolute favorite Apologia book that we have used. And I think it was so great because the kids really love creatures and animals and things. So I would say probably the first half of the book is all about birds, everything about birds. And I think it's safe to say my kids are officially birders now. Every time we see a bird, my kids run to get our field guide for our state, and they flip through it and they try to identify the bird that we are seeing. And we made a list of all the birds that we saw this year. We were able to see a mama duck lay eggs and have baby ducks. That was super fun. And we also got to see bats this year in our neighborhood, which was crazy because we studied about bats. It talked about how, you know, bats are pretty much everywhere, but you just don't see them because they don't come out until the sun is setting. But as the seasons are changing here and we had the time change, we went on a walk one evening right around 8:30 in the evening, and you could start to see bats coming out to eat the mosquitoes, and it was so awesome. And the kids just loved it. It was really cool, and I'm so glad that we had that experience to kind of tie in with what we were learning in science. Another really fun thing that we did this year for science was we ordered caterpillars and we watched them turn into butterflies. I'll go ahead and pop in a few pictures here of that whole experience. The kids just loved, you know, watching the caterpillars turn into the chrysalis, and then we were all waiting on pins and needles for them to emerge and become butterflies. We enjoyed them for a couple days, and then we released them out into our front yard. And so that was such a wonderful experience, and something that I think we're gonna do every spring as a family tradition. And so I'm definitely glad that we decided to go with this year for science, and I have no regrets and nothing that I would have changed about science this year. All right, the next subject I wanted to mention is our history. For history this year, we did The Mystery of History, Volume 1. This was their new 3rd edition of this textbook. It's a really great book, a nice hardcover, tons of full color pictures. I've done several videos on The Mystery of History, which I will link in the description box if you want to check them out. Basically, in a nutshell, I really enjoyed using this curriculum this year. It's excellent. I definitely recommend it for Christian families who are looking for something that is historically accurate, but also, you know, ties in our faith in Christ as well. One thing I will say is that I didn't really do all the things I had hoped to do with this book this year. I basically utilized it as a read aloud. We also did some of the activities that it mentioned in the digital companion guide, but outside of that, we didn't do any of the other supplemental things like the timeline or those type of extra things. But for me, I was okay with that, and that was the beauty of this curriculum, is you can really choose to do as much or as little of the extras as you want to. As long as you're reading the textbook itself, that is really the heart of the curriculum. I think the next time that I use this textbook with my younger two kids, I hope to do more of the extra things that they offer on their website. So for me, that was the only thing that I would do differently the next time I use this book. All right, and the last area that I'm gonna mention for our homeschool year is our morning basket. Now our morning basket, I will say, started out as a morning basket where we would do it kind of first thing after breakfast, after everyone, had gotten ready for the day. But then over time, it kind of morphed into an afternoon lunch basket. And so what I ended up doing was doing a lot of these books at the lunch table. So as we're all gathered there, the kids are eating, they're a captive audience, they're quiet, I would just kind of pull out these books after I finished eating and just do our reading time together at the table over lunch. And so I'm going to share with you some of our poetry books that we use this year, as well as some of the Christian devotionals that we used. All right, so I'll start with the Christian books. The first one I wanted to mention are these answer books for kids. This is an excellent series. It's by Ken Ham. Basically, it just goes through and answers questions that kids might have about biblical things. So this one that we read is 22 questions from kids about creation and the fall. So we read through this book together, and I liked it so much that I went ahead and purchased the next couple volumes that I'm hoping we will read together this coming school year. The next book I wanted to mention is this one called The New City Catechism. This is an excellent book. We actually used the app version of this more than we did the book, but this is a great way to really teach your kids truths about the faith and, ask them the question and then teach them the answer. And so, for example, this is a question: how can we glorify God? Okay, and then on the page here, they give you in pink is like a kid's answer. So by loving God and obeying his commands and laws. So you can do the kid answer or you can do the full answer. And so each one of these is broken down into different areas of theology or different areas of doctrine. And I really enjoyed this book. We didn't finish it completely, but I really, a lot of great truths here, and definitely check out the app. I will link it below if you want to utilize that with your kids. It actually includes a lot of songs too that teach the question and answer through music. And so that was something that my kids really enjoyed. The next book that we use this year is called A Faith to Grow On. This book is actually kind of old, and so I had to get it off of Thrift Books. This is a really excellent book. It's similar in that it's broken into different categories. For example, God, creation, sin, the Bible, Jesus, salvation, worship, prayer, church, forgiveness, evangelism, heaven. So there's different sections of the book that just teach kids core truths about the Christian faith. And so this has been an excellent resource and one that I know I will continue to use with all the kids. Finally, I wanted to mention our 24 Family Ways. This is by Clay and Sally Clarkson, and this book is really rich. You're not just gonna breeze your way through this book. Every one of these 24 family ways has multiple days to it. So you might spend a year working your way through this book, or even 6 months to a year working through this book together as a family. So it's not meant to be read quickly. It's meant to be really read intentionally so that your kids can really reflect on the truths that you're learning together as a family. And so this is something I've really enjoyed, and we have only probably made it through 1/3 of this book, and so I will continue to use it in this coming year. All right, then finally the last thing is some of the books that we did for poetry this year. And I found this really sweet book. It's called Poems and Prayers for the Very Young. I love vintage looking illustrations and things like that, and the poems in this book were just really lovely and beautiful. So this was an excellent read and something that I will hold on to for my other kids. Next was the children's book of virtues. We actually ended up listening to this as an audiobook through, I think it was Hoopla, and we enjoyed it. It was fun to listen to in the car. So this is one that we liked as well. And then finally, I asked on Instagram anyone's suggestions for other poetry books, and this one came up quite a few times. This is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, The Poetry of Mr. Rogers. And I really enjoyed this one as well. Very positive little poems and songs and things that were written by him. If your kids have seen Daniel Tiger, then they will definitely recognize some of the characters in this book. You know, if you watched Mr. Rogers as a kid, then you'll recognize some of these puppets as well. Overall, I thought this was a really nice little poetry book for young kids, and so I'm glad that we read this year as well. Well, that is everything I had to share with you guys today. I know this is a little bit long. I hope you enjoyed hearing about our curriculum that we used this year and things that worked for us. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if you have any questions. I hope that you guys are doing well, and thanks as always for watching. Hope you have a great day. Bye.